All right, guys. So the more that I play with this truck, the more that I realize just how different it is from a regular OBS truck. I don't look the greatest right now. That's why I'm pointing the phone away from me. But I was about to install the cross member on this thing, and the whole time I was looking at these frame rails, and I felt that this frame flange was quite a bit thicker than the OBS frame. And when I went to install the cross member, I realized that I was right. This flange right here is definitely quite a bit thicker, wider, I guess. Sorry about all the noise. We're right now doing Black Friday fabrication, trying to get all the order, trying to get working on the orders. But anyways, I had to actually trim the frame just slightly. Hopefully it's not too hot. So I had to trim this little sliver out of the frame from right about there to be able to clear the cross member. And then we cleaned up the cut really nice, spray painted it both sides, and hopefully the cross member will fit now. So let's go give it a shot. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So it's a huge thanks for coming back. We really appreciate you. So as you just saw in that little clip, we have pretty much every bracket under this truck. This is the F-Superduty that we're axle swapping. And we actually on this truck made new coil buckets, new radius arm brackets that will be specific to this truck. Now I'm also installing a CA5 crossmember on this thing, but we ran into a couple of issues with the frame, and essentially this frame is basically the flange on it is wider, than the OBS frame, and it was making contact with the CF5 crossmember, but we got everything clearance, fitting in there really good. And now it's basically time to rob the axles from this donor truck. So this is a 2008 F350. So this thing's also a cabin chassis, which should allow us to just swap that axle straight over to this truck, because this thing, even though it has a bed, it is also a cabin chassis, as all F-Superduties were. So hopefully it'll be a somewhat simple swap. But yeah, I mean, there's really not much to it. We're gonna remove basically everything that we need off of this truck, which is the axle. Well, actually that's all we need, just the axle, because we're doing our radius arms. And then we're doing a 2-inch lift on it. So all we need is the radius arms, but obviously we're going to remove all we need is the axle. Sorry, but obviously we're going to remove everything because we'll end up using the rest of the parts down the road, hopefully. But yeah, I'm going to throw you guys on a tripod, get everything removed, and we'll hopefully get it installed under this truck. So let's get it.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing? Okay, guys. So quick update time. I've been doing a horrible job of recording this truck. I'm really sorry, guys. But we as you can see, we've got the axle under the truck. We've got the springs in. We got the shocks in. We got the brake lines 90% of the way in. We still gotta secure the actual line to the frame with that little bracket right there. And again, guys, these I've said this before, but I'm still trying to figure out a some brake lines that we can use. I haven't liked the options that I've had before. I'm working with another company to hopefully bring new lines, new brake lines soon. But for now, especially on a pretty stock build like this thing's only a 2-inch spring. What we like to use are the 05 through 07 lines, and they're super easy to use. You gotta modify them just a little bit. They come with the bracket that mounts here and here that essentially attaches it to your axle right there. We remove that, and then this bracket actually comes out into a 90, I believe, and we just cut it off right there, kind of grind it nice and smooth so we don't cut ourselves. And then that hole is already in the bracket, so we'll use one of these holes in a 1/4 20 bolt to attach it to the frame, and that'll be good to go. And it's essentially the same on the other side. And these 05 through 07 lines, at least on every axle that I've used, they have worked. And I've used them up to a 2021 or 2020, whatever my F-450 axle is, and they still worked on it. So they should be good on pretty much any axle you use. Now, this thing is going to require some extra work. The track bar ball joint as well as the track bar bushing are shot on this thing, so we're most likely going to have to replace them. It's pretty late at night right now, so I'm going to call the customer tomorrow morning to make sure that he approves me making that change. If he does, again, like I said, we'll do a new bushing for the track bar. But, I mean, we've got everything. We've got the coil buckets, radius arm brackets, cross member. And again, that cross member was a little bit of work to make it work. So I'm not sure if I'm going to offer it as a bolt-in deal for the F-Superduties, because it would actually require quite a bit of work to clearance that cross member to work properly with this setup. So I'm still thinking if I should make a specific cross member for these trucks. And then the last thing we'll do is install our fabricated radius arms. We don't need them right now. This setup will work the way that it is. So the last thing we'll do is probably remove those stock radius arms and install our fabricated radius arms. That way they don't get dirty or anything like that. So, but I mean, other than that, the front end's pretty much good to go. We still gotta, I still gotta install the sway bar. But other than that, the front end is pretty solid, pretty good. We're still gonna have to torque a few things. Obviously, like the radius arms once we install the ones we're gonna keep permanently, and then the track bar and all that stuff. But we still have a couple things to finish. Like we gotta torque the radius arms, but again, we're not gonna be using these radius arms. So once we install my radius arms, we'll torque those, install the sway bar. Again, do the stuff with depending on what the customer says. If he wants us to replace that track bar bracket, we'll do that, and then torque it. But again, we're looking good. This truck's actually been quite a bit more work to get everything to fit properly the way that I want to, just because the frame is significantly at least different enough to where, again, I had to make new coil buckets, new radius arm brackets, all that stuff. But I'm really happy with how everything's turning out, so we should be good to go. And by the way, this thing actually has fairly new brakes on it, like the pads, the rotors, everything seems pretty good, so that's good. It really sucks because a lot of the other stuff is worn out, like that track bar. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead, finish out the front end, throw it on its wheels, get it off the jack stands, and basically at that point we'll be ready to move on to the rear end of this thing. So yeah, let's get it. Okay guys, so we got the truck back on the ground and it's looking really good. And I want to go over some measurements with you guys because I know that I get this question asked a lot. So anyways, this is what the truck looks like right now. I know that it looks like it needs a bigger tire, and it does. It will get a bigger tire, but it looks really, really good. Again, F-Superduty 7.3 with a 2-inch Skyjacker spring on it. Looks really nice, right? And basically the measurements that I want to go over is ride height. Now keep in mind, this thing's gonna drop. It's gonna settle at least an inch, maybe inch and a half. But right now, it's at 41 inches from the ground to the top of the wheel well. Hopefully I'm pointing in the right direction. So again, 41 inches from the ground to right there. And that's what the tire where it's sitting on right now is 31 inches tall. So that'll give you a really, really good idea of how this thing would sit. Now, again, this thing being an F-Superduty, it actually set pretty high up top. I don't know if maybe I can insert a clip or something like that before we swapped that. I don't think I took any pictures, but it was pretty rigged. Where it's at right now with that 2-inch spring, it's about an inch higher in the front from the rear. Now, again, once it settles, those are brand new springs. They all settle. It'll probably be pretty level to the front. Probably one of the most common questions, if not the most common question, is what spring do I need for the truck to sit level? Or I've got a 4-inch, 6-inch block in the rear. What spring do I need to level it out? And that is a very, very, very hard question to answer, because these trucks are as old as I am. I'm 32 years old, and a lot of these trucks are getting to be that old too, you know. Some of them a little bit younger, but still getting close to being 30 years old, a lot of these, right? And they all had different lives. We've got trucks from F-150s, F-250s, F-350s, two-wheel drives, to 4x4s, F-350s, 4x4s, and then these beasts. So they all sit, ride completely different. I mean, I can go out to my yard and show you just how different these trucks can be. Also, I just heard coyotes outside. I'm gonna lie, a little bit freaked out to be out here, but you know what? Let's do it for the video. Hopefully I don't get eaten out here. That truck right there, two-wheel drive F-250, sits extremely low because it's got worn out springs, right? This truck was just a little bit taller than that one before we swapped it, but still super, super low. So like I said, it's really, really hard to answer that question. So the best that I can do is give you measurements like that, so you can kind of go off of that. But again, it's really, really hard, you know, to say where you want to be. So kind of like that measurement will hopefully help you guys. Because I can even say something like this setup will clear 35, because it will. Like that will clear 35 easily. That's basically what we did with Odie Build's truck. 2-inch spring, 35-inch tire, worked beautifully. The problem is that if you go with some 16 wides on a 35, that 2-inch spring no longer will clear it. You know what I mean? At that point, you know, you might need to go up to like a 4-inch lift to clear a 35 with the really, really wide wheel with an aggressive offset. Hopefully that'll give you an idea. My single cab, that thing with a 37 and essentially a 3-inch spring. It's a 4-inch spring, but it's a different coil bucket. We made them shorter ever since then, about an inch shorter. If I was to run that, to get that height, right now it would be a 3-inch spring. That made no sense. I'm sorry. But essentially, it's essentially on a 3-inch spring with the 37, and it sits at like 44 inches, I think, something like that. But yeah, guys, again, truck, front end, pretty much done. Still got to button up a couple little things here and there, but it's looking really, really good. And in the next video, we're going to jump to the rear end and hopefully get this truck done, because we still got to figure out what we're going to do with that one, how we're going to get it out of the shop. Oh, man, what do I get myself into? Oh, boy. You know, I am having fun, though. I do love what I'm doing, so thank you, guys. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to be it for this video. So leave a like, leave any comments that you might have down below. If you want us to build your OBS, send me a message. We have open spots for next year. The rest of the year, we're done building trucks. I mean, we're not done building trucks. We still have quite a bit of trucks to build, but we have no more spots. So send us an email. Early next year, we can start building your guys' trucks. And again, thank you. We'll see you for the next one.